Namaskar, this is Dada Rainjitananda, and welcome to this webinar. I'm speaking to you from Switzerland, and today I will talk about pranayama. And in the end, I will give time for questions, but you can already type your questions in the questions window of the control panel. Even during the webinar, you can do that. And as I see the questions, I may answer them during the webinar also. Okay, so let's go to the presentation. We'll be talking about pranayama, the art of breathing in yoga. And my name is Dada Rainjitananda. This presentation is based on the teachings of Shishiyanandamurti, who is my teacher. So pranayama is a very important practice of yoga. You know, in yoga, there is a system called the Ashtanga Yoga. The Ashtanga means 8 parts or 8 limbs of yoga. And these 8 are Yama Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So today we are talking about the number 4, means the 4th part or the 4th limb of yoga, and that's pranayama. So this gives a perspective of where this practice fits in the whole yogic system. Now, what is pranayama? Yama means control, prana, the vital energy. So this pranayama is a practice to control the movement of the vital energy in a body. The vital energy plays a very important role because it relates to the mind. The mind is basically controlled by the movement of the vital energy. So if we can control the movement of the vital energy, then we can keep the mind more controlled. The practice of pranayama is basically to control the way we breathe. Always based on this idea that breathing controls the mind. When we breathe very slowly, the mind becomes more calm, more controlled, more tranquil. If our breathing is very fast, then the mind is more restless, more difficult to control. So the practice of pranayama, we learn how to control the breathing process. And by doing that, we can control the mind better. There are different layers of the mind. The most external layer being the conscious mind. And the second layer is the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is that layer of the mind that deals with the 5 senses and the 5 motor organs. It's related to the external world. The second layer, the subconscious, is related to thinking, a deeper thinking, dreaming. And the practice of pranayama works to perfect this second layer, the subconscious mind. If we can calm down the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, then we can really go deep into meditation. If these 2 layers are not controlled, are very agitated, then it's very difficult to meditate. I'm going to make a comparison here just imagine that the goal is Brahma. Brahma being the supreme consciousness, the supreme being. Now, if we think that the goal is to reach Brahma, so the goal of our soul is to merge into Brahma, means the individual consciousness, the soul, is supposed to merge into Brahma. The bowl is the shape of the bowl is given by the ideation. And the ideation here is the Om. The Om is the ideation. One is ideating on the sound of the universe, on the supreme sound. And the string, pulling the string is the pranayama. Okay, so now pranayama is going to give the energy, or it's going to give the power, so that the bow will throw the arrow into the goal, which is Brahma. So pranayama is very important, but here you can realize that if you don't aim the bow in the proper direction, then the power that you get on the string will throw the arrow, but it may not reach the goal if it's not in the right direction. So it is very important that we give direction to the mind before we use the energy of the pranayama. So pranayama is a very delicate practice because it is going to increase very much the mental energy, the power of the mind. But the mind must be directed in a very good direction so that this power is properly utilized. So the pranayama itself is not a complete practice. It is an auxiliary practice. You know, in yoga, there are many practices. And I presented a few moments ago the system of the 8 steps of yoga. And the pranayama is the number 4, is one of the auxiliary practices. Now, there are different types of pranayama. There is what we call the Hatha Yoga Pranayama. Today, many people are practicing yoga, but most people are practicing the system of Hatha Yoga. Now, this system of Hatha Yoga has a lot of asanas, a lot of pranayama, a lot of mudras. So there is a type of pranayama that is included in the Hatha Yoga practice. But there are various practices, various techniques of pranayama in the Hatha Yoga system. Now, what happens with the Hatha Yoga system is that it gives a lot of emphasis on this and a lot of emphasis on this. But we are going to see about the type of pranayama in the Hatha Yoga system and the type of pranayama in a different, more deep yoga system. Now, what is missing very much in the Hatha Yoga system to begin with is these 2 steps here. These 2 steps are very important, the yama and niyama, because these 2 steps give the direction to the mind. So as I mentioned, pranayama is like you are pulling the string of the bow very much. But the aim, you have to aim, and yama and niyama help to aim so that the arrow will reach the target. These two practices, jhana and yama, should precede the practice of pranayama and can go simultaneously with the practice of asana. So, if we have the practice of jhana and yama, both have 5 points. There are 5 points for jhana, 5 points for niyama. Some examples of jhana, the number 1. Okay, so one example is the practice called satya. This practice means to use the words for the welfare. So whatever you say when you are relating to other people, whatever words you use should be for the welfare of the people. So this is a practice of satya. If one gets established on this practice, it helps very much to attain deeper layers of the mind. That's one example of jhana. In niyama, there are also 5 points. And one example of a practice of niyama could be this one here. It's called santosha. And this santosha means contentment, to be in a state of contentment. That is a practice that depends only on us. It doesn't depend on people outside us. That's why it's a part of niyama. So niyama depends only on us, and jhana depends on the existence of an external entity. Practicing santosh helps to stabilize the conscious mind, the first layer. So if we practice this system of 10 points or 10 practice, jhana and yama, step 1 and step 2, and we can also practice the step 3, which is the asanas, the exercise of yoga. We are preparing ourselves for the practice of pranayama. If we only practice asanas and pranayama, there is chance that we are not controlling well our mind, we are not directed properly, and instead of attaining a better control of the mind, directing the mind towards the goal, the supreme goal, the mind can be diverted to other tendencies that we might have, and we might be more attracted to material things due to the increased power of the mind attained through pranayama. Therefore, for a deep practice of yoga, pranayama should be always associated with what we call bindu dhyan. Now, what dhyan, this word dhyan here, means meditation. You make the mind flow towards the supreme goal. So this flow of the mind towards the supreme goal is dhyan. Bindu means a point. Therefore, this bindu dhyan is the meditation on a particular point. One is first concentrating the mind on a particular point and then practicing the meditation. And that is bindu dhyan. So when we do the pranayama, associating it with bindu dhyan means we are going to concentrate the mind in one point. And as we do the pranayama, we can take the help of a mantra to make the mind flow towards the supreme goal. And that is a practice of pranayama that will, most of the time or almost always, produce good results. But if we are doing pranayama without making it flow towards, without making the mind flow towards the supreme goal, then it means that it is possible that the mind will become more restless and the mind will flow towards material goals or material objects. And that will be not conducive to yoga, because the word yoga means the unification of the unit consciousness, our individual consciousness, with the cosmic consciousness, like a drop of water merging into the ocean. So if that is the goal, we should use pranayama to help to reach the goal, to help to reach the supreme. Now, if we do a pranayama without having the ideation, then there is a great possibility that the mind will flow towards its tendencies. And many of the mental tendencies take us towards the material world. Pranayama without the Bindu Dhyan may disturb or will disturb our self-control, our auto-control. And the mind will become restless. Instead of attaining more peaceful mind, we may attain a more restless mind. Instead of being able to divert the mind towards the inner world, the mind may become more attracted to the outer world. Therefore, before we start the practice of pranayama, it is important to spend some time in the practice of dhyana and the practice of niyama. In fact, the teachings of Sri Sri Anandamurti, who is my teacher, the first two lessons, personal lessons, are related to, the first one is related to niyama. It's called Ishwara Pranidhana, one of the points of niyama. And the other one of the points of dhyana or brahmacharya. So with these two lessons and practicing the other 8 points, one has a complete practice of dhyana and niyama. And that prepares for learning the pranayama. So it's very important, the preparation before practicing pranayama. Now, I would like to ask you a question. Let me see if I can launch this question here. So my question to you is, what is your previous experience with pranayama? Yeah, I see, okay, some people already answering. So you have 5 choices. Well, most of you have voted now, only a few haven't. So let me close it. Let me share the results. Putting the results there. Okay. Well, I have here that most of you already practice pranayama. So you have learned and you practice, some practice regularly, 25%, and some practice sometimes, 75%. All right. One thing about pranayama is that it's a delicate practice and it needs regularity. If you are practicing pranayama, let's say if you practice once a day, then you should do it every day once. If you practice twice a day, then you should do every day twice. If you practice sometimes, it's not the best, because being a very strong practice, it changes the body. So and uh, and the body works in cycles of a day. In one day, we sleep, we wake up, we eat, and so the body functions in this 24-hour cycle. So we have to include this pranayama practice in this 24-hour cycle so that we get the best result of the practice. So I see that many of you are practicing it sometimes. I would like to encourage you to make it regular, at least once every day, and better if you do it twice. And you connect it also with the practice of meditation, because meditation gives the direction, and pranayama increases the speed that the mind moves in that direction. So that's the two things come together. The meditation is included in the practice of jhana and niyama. Meditation is one of the points of niyama, is the point that we call Ishvara Pranidhana. Okay, so thank you for taking this one, and let's move ahead here. So, a little bit more about pranayama. There are some pranayamas that are more related to the meditation process. There are some pranayamas that can be used to cure diseases. Those pranayamas that are used to cure diseases, they will not have much benefit in the, let's say, spiritual level, in the spiritual elevation. And those pranayamas that are good for meditation, that elevate the mind, they also have some positive effect on the body, but they are not specific for certain diseases. So, if one is doing a pranayama specific for a disease, it may imply that you have to concentrate in a certain um, point of the body, which is not exactly one of the meditation chakras. So it could be a point of a joint or some other location in the body. So that is important when somebody has a physical problem that is not allowing that person to do the meditation or to do spiritual practices. Then one can utilize this pranayama to cure the disease and then continue doing the spiritual pranayama. So there are pranayamas which are more for spiritual elevation, and there are pranayamas which are more for physical. Okay. So in this presentation, I want to call more attention to the spiritual importance of pranayama. And I also want to call attention to the fact that if we are only doing hatha yoga pranayama, which is a pranayama without ideation, that's not very beneficial. And if we are doing the pranayama with ideation, which is the spiritual one, it has ideation and it has a point that we concentrated, usually a chakra, and that point may vary according to the time of the day that we practice the pranayama. Okay, so moving ahead on this presentation. In the prana, or the, let's say, vital energy, okay, let me put another image here. Okay, there are, okay, just a moment. There are different values. Oh, sorry for that. Let me undo this one. Different values. Values are the airs, like the air okay, air in the body. So the prana is the collection of all these different airs, different vayus. So there are uh, 5 main vayus which are internal to the body. There is this one, Vyana. Vyana is responsible for circulation, blood circulation and other fluid circulation in the body. There is one that's called prana, just prana, and this is related to the functioning of the heart and the lungs. There is udana. Udana is here on the throat area. Okay. Vyana, the first one, this one, is throughout the body. Prana in the area of heart and lungs. And the udana in the area of the throat. It helps the expression. And another one, samana. Samana is situated in the navel area. It maintains the balance between the prana and this one here, which is called the apana. This apana is related to elimination. If there is some problem in apana, this one, and we don't have proper elimination, that also creates lots of diseases. If we have constipation, means we cannot eliminate properly, it creates many diseases. Not only that, it maintains the mind a little bit more dull, less dynamic, difficult to meditate. So this, having a balance between this apana and the prana, samana, udana, vyana, all these airs functioning well, it's very important for the maintenance of the body, and it's allows us to meditate properly. So with the technique of pranayama, we are controlling this prana, this collective of airs, collective of vayus, and improving our body, making it easier for the mind to meditate. Okay, let's move ahead on here. Going back to this one. Okay, so the collective of all the vayus is the prana, and that is being controlled with the technique of pranayama. One very common pranayama is the one that we breathe first closing one nostril and then closing the other one. So breathing in and breathing out and alternating the nostrils. So that is alternating the nostrils. This is a simple pranayama, but it is very powerful if we can connect it with the ideation, with the mantra. And that is the basic pranayama, having a point of concentration, having an ideation given by the mantra. Okay, so we are practicing it daily. So that is increasing very much the capacity of our mind to hold the ideation during meditation. So if you think that you are not able to meditate long enough, you are not able to go deep enough, but you have been trying your meditation regularly, when you add the pranayama to it, it will give you more capacity to remain longer in the meditation and to concentrate deeper in the mantra and in the ideation of the meditation. So the pranayama itself is not a complete practice, but it's a very good practice to make it easier to meditate. It made it easier to maintain the posture, the physical posture during meditation, and to remain longer in the meditation. So the important, very important points in the pranayama: learn the technique. Learn the technique. The point of concentration means the chakra that you are going to concentrate, and the mantra that will help you to get the right ideation, and then the regular practice. Include pranayama in the daily practice. So if one has learned the technique, knows the chakra according to the time of the day, uses the mantra to facilitate the ideation, and practice it regularly, one will notice much improvement in the meditation. Deeper meditation, longer meditation, and getting more feeling during the meditation. So that's the importance of this pranayama. If one is doing the pranayama without these details, just the hatha yoga pranayama without ideation, there is some danger there. The danger that instead of concentrating the mind longer in the meditation, it makes the mind more restless. Okay, at this point, I want to ask you another question here. Let me launch the question. So this is the question: what kind of pranayama do you practice? So if you could answer this question now. So there are 3 points there. Do you practice hatha yoga pranayama? Means it's a pranayama without mantra, without ideation, without a point of concentration. There are many types, and the pranayama with the bindu dhyana, with a point of concentration, with a mantra to give ideation, or maybe some other type of pranayama. Okay, it seems most of the people have voted. Let me close the poll and let me share the results with you. So the results are 80% of the attendees are doing the pranayama with the bindu dhyan, means with the mantra, with a point of concentration. 20% of you are doing the hatha yoga pranayama. And that makes 100%. Okay. So for those doing only the hatha yoga pranayama and asanas, it's advisable to also practice meditation. Maybe you're already practicing meditation and just you are doing the hatha yoga pranayama. But just keep in mind that you have to do it carefully, the hatha yoga pranayama, because you may not, it may give you some mental sensations sometimes, but the end result may be not making your mind very calm, but making it a little bit more restless. But you just observe in a longer period that are you facing difficulties of being irritable or being with less patience like that, then it might be the pranayama is affecting you in that way. Those practicing the pranayama with bindu dhyan, it's very difficult that this will happen. It will most of the times give you good results, and especially if you do it regularly and you also take time to do meditation. All right, so let's close this one. All right, so I'm coming to the end of the presentation. I wanted to end with a note that we should practice pranayama only under the guidance of a qualified instructor. I put here an acharya. An acharya means one who teaches by one's example, conduct, and is qualified. But a qualified instructor is necessary if you are going to practice pranayama. Don't just go to a book, read the book, and start practicing it. Because it's a subtle practice dealing with the breathing, dealing with the vital energy. And by the time you start feeling the effects, it takes a long time to reverse it. So it's very important that you do the practice under a good guidance so that you get the best result. All right, so I do see somebody raising hand, but I would prefer that you type your question in the questions windows. So I'm not using the raising hands today. So now I'm giving you some time to type questions. So it is 3:40 here local time, so we went 40 minutes into the presentation. We have about 20 minutes to answer questions. So please put your questions and I can take some time to answer them. So take some time now to type the questions and then I can answer.